Hello everybody, I am going to demonstrate a couple of ways that I use to help clients access their mid-thoracic spine. So often what I see with people is they have a really hard time rounding this portion of their spine, and they have a really easy time rounding this portion of their spine, but they have a really hard time accessing the area T8 through T12. So I'm going to demonstrate some ways to do that. First, some easy landmarks that I usually give clients. I have them locate where their sternum is, the bottom of their sternum, and I have them feel their ribs there on the front of the body. From here, I have them lie back on the ground with their knees bent. And I usually have the person take one hand on the sternum on those lower ribs. I like to have people identify what's going on in the front of the body before I bring attention to the back of the body, simply because usually people are a little more familiar with that part. We often forget about what we don't see. So I have them take their hands beneath the sternum, lower ribs. Their right arm will come up, or their left. It doesn't really matter. This is just a motor control exercise. As they exhale, they simply lift their shoulder away from the floor. Inhale, lower the shoulder down. And I'll have them stay with that pattern for a moment, lifting and lowering. And as they do that, I ask the person to notice if they can feel that as they lift the arm, the ribs drop down. So I'm just bringing a little bit of awareness, again, to the lower ribs in the front of the body. And then I have them try it with the other arm, just so they can see that it happens with both arms reaching. If they get really familiar and they don't need their hand anymore on their sternum or on their lower ribs, they take both arms and reach and lower. And again, we haven't done anything isometric or anything stressful. I'm just bringing some awareness to the front of the body. Once I've done a few of those with the person, I usually have them rest their arms for just a second. And then I ask the person to bring both arms up. And as they exhale this time, lift both shoulders. And now I ask them to notice that as the ribs drop, I want them to feel what's happening in the back of the body. Inhale, lower the arms down. And stay with this pattern. And as this goes on, I ask the person just to notice which portion of the back gets heavier. And I see if the person can make contact with the floor with that vertebrae right behind the lowest part of the sternum and those lower ribs. So I see if the person can start to access the mid-back. Once the person has a general idea of where that is, I might have the person exhale, reach the arms, feel the lower ribs sink down, but pay particular attention to what's going on in the back of the body. Stay there as they inhale, exhale, seeing if they can make even more access with that mid-back area. And then one more time, stay there as they inhale, exhale, and relax that down. The thing you want to look for is make sure the person's not bracing with their lower abs, so that area should stay pretty soft, right? So you're accessing the deep abdominal muscles to do this. Once that's established, then I usually see if I can get a little bit of rotational work, bringing again some awareness to what's happening at the back there. So I'll bring the right arm up. I'll take the left hand this time on the sternum and the left ribs. And as the person exhales, I have them reach the right hand gently to the left, and I see if they can feel the sternum turning to the left and the ribs dropping down. Inhale back to center. Staying with this pattern a few times. Again, same thing, making sure they're not bracing with the abdomen. So everything's soft. Maybe switching arms. Doing a few there. And then once the person gets that connection, we might work on what's happening at the back of the body. Can they feel that as they reach the right arm to the left, there's a little more contact with the floor on that left mid-back area directly under the sternum, behind the ribs. Inhale down. Stay with that. Keeping this soft. Again, switching sides. You can even have them alternate. Just noticing. So again, there's a different purpose for this, right? You're bringing awareness to the mid-back. Once that's established, I usually have the person turn over onto their hands and knees. And my goal at this point is that hopefully the person has an idea, so that when I reference this spot at the back, the person will have a connection with it. They'll understand what I'm talking about. Because again, same thing here, if I take someone and I put them into a plank position and I ask them to lift the heart away from the floor or to press out the hands, often what happens is that, right? So, and that's just going to go into the upper traps. It's rounding the upper thoracic. It's not rounding this mid and lower thoracic that I'm trying to get to, which is what opposes the lower ribs and gets the abs a little more activated. So from here, I might have the person come into a hands and knees position to start, and we'll start working here. So I'd have the person lift that sternum away from the floor, and I ask the person to feel this part of their back lift. I usually use a tactile cue. I usually put my hand right there and say, I want you to reach into my hand, and see if the person can get that. Sometimes that area is still not very clear, but generally after they've gotten the feedback from the floor, they can access it a little bit better. So again, shoulders away from ears, nose even with fingertips, and I have the person just lift from this part and breathe. And usually just that is enough to get the abs activated, because for the first time they're getting the ribs down, or maybe not for the first time, but they're definitely getting a sense of where that area might be. If that's going pretty well, then I might take them into a plank and have them lift, again, same thing, just that part right behind the sternum away from the floor, to see if they can get the breath to move back there and the activation through the abs. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.